Thanks, Basil. I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the Saturday afternoon team. We're a bunch of unique individuals.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Unique Individuals podcast. Good to have the boys alongside me once again. How are we going, lads?
Yeah, going well, mate. Should be a great episode and definitely cannot wait for it.
Good to be here from Blair and myself, and yeah, it's good to have another little special guest on who I think you might touch on.
Yeah, well, we do have a special guest today.
Yeah.
Younger cousin all the way from Adelaide is down featuring this episode. Rohan, good to have you with us.
Guys, yeah. I've heard you guys have you're on Spotify, you're on YouTube, you must be pretty popular. I'm honored to be on this podcast. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, to have you, mate.
Yeah. It's his first time ever on a
Yeah.
podcast. So
yeah.
no, he's very keen to be featured today. But I guess we'll get started then, Rohan. Obviously you're down here. You've been down here for a couple of days. Tell us, I guess, what we've been doing over the last few days. We went to the snow, which was pretty good.
On the weekend we went up to Lake Mountain and then Mount Buller as well, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was, I guess, your favorite bit about going to the snow? Because this is your second time ever been.
It was just being with my cousins and just going
Tobogganing?
tobogganing like
really
whizzing
fast.
fast down the hill. Yeah,
it was really fun.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
And also you did something yesterday. It was a beautiful day yesterday in Melbourne, but first time ever at the MCG. You had an MCG tour.
It was great. Yeah, I got to see all in the MCC and everything like that. The long room was pretty good. Everything, all of it was great. Sports museum was good, and then after that, I was surprised by my dad. He took me 200 meters or so down the road to Punt Road, and I went shopping in Richmond stuff, which was pretty good. Yeah,
Massive Tiger supporter, like the Burns boys.
Yeah. Yes.
So
down at Punt Road. Yeah, not bad.
No, he's pretty happy being down there. And then today as well, we went on the Kokoda Trail, which was a
1,000 steps.
1,000-step walk, which was a bit of a workout, but we managed to do it.
It was pretty good. Yeah,
it was good stuff. But
only took about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, it was pretty good.
We did pretty well.
Yeah, except it was raining hard at the end, sort of.
It was, but made the conditions harder. But definitely a good experience. But I guess overall it's been a pretty good trip.
Yeah.
And you're leaving tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, yeah. It's a bit sad, but it's good that I got to spend time with you because I never really come to Melbourne. It's always you guys coming to Adelaide. So it's pretty special coming here.
No, it's been good. Yeah. It's been great.
Now, Rohan, just quickly, what has been your favourite moment of the trip? Obviously, you had the MCG tour, you went to the snow. If you had to pick one, what would be your favourite moment?
I don't know. I mean, I've spent all my moments with these guys. So it would probably be going to Mount Buller because with the MCG, it was just our family that came over here without the cousins because they were all at school and stuff. So I think it was going to the snow because we were with everybody. It was everybody. So, yeah.
We'd love to hear it, mate. Well done.
Closely followed behind this appearance on this potty, I think. Yeah.
No, it's good.
Great.
Let's get into the other boys. What's been happening with you, Mansell? Looks like you've got an announcement to share with the viewers.
Yeah, nothing too extravagant. I can't even speak. Just a little bit. Obviously, I've spoken about my work with the Inner Sanctum over this, last few months and everything like that, and got the call yesterday. I've now been picked as an editor for the Inner Sanctum, so been doing some work for there, and just a little announcement from there. But been doing that, and probably first full day today that was, and also had the under 18 champs with Burns boys. Got out there on Sunday, see up and coming talent for Victoria because it was the Victorian Derby, country and metro, and suppose boys, do you want to shed light on that? Go from there. Ronda, obviously you had the notebook going, and Blair, you had the Twitter going yourself.
I did have the notebook going, and I was going to write a match report, but I I kind of opted against it in the end. I just probably couldn't be stuffed. But no, we went to a few under-18 national championships games. Obviously, Blair and I had Georgie Stevens on our podcast a few weeks ago, and we've been following him pretty closely before that and after that as well. And yeah, also a few other players, but yeah, I wrote a few little articles and stuff that coming out on the draft. So it's always good to sort of keep interest in that stuff. And there's some great players coming up for the draft this year. So I think it's going to be pretty good. But yeah, pretty fun day, and you obviously see a few guys like Tom Brown and AFL players as well there. So there's a few celebrity spottings a bit. But yeah, how'd you find it, boy?
Yeah, no, like Connor said, obviously it's a pretty good day for it actually. The sun was out, which is a surprise compared to what we've seen recently, sort of with the weather. So that was good. Icon Park's pretty unreal. Big crowd in the house. It's for free to get in, so it's not bad. And we just roamed in there, and yeah, straight away, me, Connor, and Mansell we just roamed in past Riley Beveridge, and Cal Toomey was there, and all these AFL journalists were standing behind us, and yeah, we sort of probably hung around them a bit longer than we needed to. We didn't talk to them, but we were a bit nervous, I guess. But Mansell went to get a coffee, didn't come back until the end of the first quarter nearly. So
I was giving you guys the opportunity to go. I was giving you guys the opportunity to finally get your name in the lights. I've already done it myself, so it's time to pay it forward.
We thought it would have been he must have gone downtown to try to get a coffee, and we're thinking, geez, he really wants one if he's, walking, 20 or 30 meters down the street and then all the way back. But no, you got there in the end, but it was just a small cup, so I think a bit ripped off, mate, for what you paid for it.
Yeah.
$5 for it. But,
yeah. Nah, but
yeah,
$7 either, but yeah, that's Melbourne for you, isn't it? Not quite. Well, it's similar to the MCG, but back to like the game. Obviously, it was the last game of the champs, so Vic Country and Vic Metro, and like some of the best players that we're seeing this year playing. Obviously, Harley Reid's been talked about heaps. Lots of people there to watch him. We were sitting next to his brother and dad in the second half over the boundary side, and just sort of heard them talking. And yeah, obviously Nick Watson for the other team is going to be for the Metro. He'll be up in the top 5 or 10, you'd think. So, some really good football, and it was exciting to see. I loved it, and yeah, like Mansell said, I got on the Twitter a little bit, and couldn't really help myself. Just tried to sneak a few extra follows in there.
Let me just rephrase that more than just a little bit. Every time I open Twitter, Blair Burns. I'm loving it. It's really, you're giving your journalism practice there. But now, if I want my little updates on the under-18 champs, Blair Burns is the one to get your information from. And also, before we move on to basketball, Mansell, good effort, mate. For what was your role again? Editor?
Yeah, so I've just been promoted to editor. So doing some editing work with some writing as well. So yeah.
And you've only been in the gig for a couple months or so. To be promoted pretty quickly, so fair effort, mate. So well done.
No, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And back onto I suppose with Blair. I'm surprised he even had time to watch the game. He was that much with his head into the Twitter. I was surprised he was actually keeping up to date with what was going on. So good effort, mate.
We all know my battles with the followers on Twitter. So I sort of looked around. I thought, well, I was trying to search up on Twitter and find out if anyone's obviously people taking stats. I was trying to sort of work out who the main ball winners were and goals and stuff, and see if anyone was really tweeting about the game. And there wasn't really a heap on there. So I thought, well, look, I'm sitting here right now watching it. Start getting a couple of hashtags going, and I posted probably 4 tweets within 2 minutes. And yeah, they didn't get likes, but that's okay. I'm happy with that.
Got a bit of reach, so first out too. So
yeah, a bit of reach. That's about.
Yeah, I've now overtaken the mantle from the battle that we had in terms of followers. I'm now plus 10, so yeah.
Yeah, Inner Sanctum's got him up. So what can you do? I guess we'll move on to basketball, will we? Obviously, yeah, a bit of a touch up for you boys, but fought hard.
Yeah. Who's gonna? I guess I'll kick it off.
You go, mate. You actually did something, so.
We're missing I can't, mate. Don't be harsh on yourself. But we're missing a few players, obviously Blair and Hugo, and didn't have the luxury of Big Lukey as a fill-in. Obviously he's pretty handy, but I don't know. We didn't start particularly well. They were a really good side for being first on the ladder, but unfortunately the first half, despite our best efforts, and we were improving throughout that first half as it went on, but we couldn't hit a shot, and for I don't know, a rare time, I guess, that you ever see. We didn't score in the first half, which wasn't great, but a lot of shots were just missing, like just missing, and we didn't seem to get a lot of calls our way. So at halftime, I was a little bit lost, but I knew that we could fight back. But yeah,
I think we played not too bad considering the team we had. I think about 15 minutes straight we couldn't get a single point, but we were so close to getting it in. The ball just wasn't managing to fall through the hoop. But no, we bounced back after a timeout, and we kept them to only 34 points, which I thought was a decent effort. And we scored about 16 or so. But look, no, we fought hard considering that we weren't probably realistically going to win at all. But we gave our best efforts, and shout out to Baden as well for filling in. He's a good sportsman. You can just tell he's a kind of good athlete build. Definitely handy filling. It was a tough loss, but we'll bounce back next week with Blair and Hugo coming back in the side.
Obviously, forgot to mention we had to wear the Clash jerseys on Sunday, and bit of a YMCA team looking jersey we have with the green and yellow. Obviously, I had number 23 and didn't live up to the hype. Safe to say, but yeah, no, definitely. I think one thing that we haven't spoken about, Owen, you pretty much carried us on your back. 11 of our 16 points and doing everything. I mean, I can't say I was the tall presence there, and you were pretty much doing my job and most of the others as well. But able to find your shooting group. Mate,
yeah, I mean, it was not a bad day. I mean, I did miss about 9 free throws, but no, your boys helped me with the passing. That's for sure. I was just driving in, trying to get a foul, but trying to draw a foul. But I had to play the big man on the Sunday, play Hugo's role. So I was in the game, which therefore I got a few points on the board. But you boys definitely contributed to most of my points. But hopefully Hugo can play my position that I played on the weekend better, and I can play more of an outside role. But anyway, that was basketball, and I guess we'll now move on to the sport talk. A lot to talk about with footy, with the big round 18 matches to talk about. Also, the Ashes starting. The fourth test starting very soon on Thursday. A few little points to talk about there, but I guess Mansell, you can take it away.
Well, yeah, I actually made an error there. I think the fourth test actually starts tomorrow rather than Thursday, but I'll take that and not you, because I was the one that wrote that. Anyway, obviously, England look to equalise this series and potentially, win back the Ashes on their home soil, as they head into Old Trafford, I believe, for the fourth test. They've made one change already. They've got Ollie Robinson that will sit out this test, and Jimmy Anderson coming back in. Firstly, before we get stuck into the Aussies and everything like that, I suppose, Owen, we'll start with you. Thoughts on this move? Obviously, there's England have definitely got the fast bowlers that are waiting in the wings. Jimmy Anderson hasn't had the best of Ashes series. How do you see this inclusion, I suppose, into this side for the fourth test?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Anderson's England's most experienced bowler in the squad, so I don't see it as a bad move, despite his, lack of wickets in this series. I think Robertson had to go. I mean, he was slightly injured in that third test. He wasn't really doing much with the ball either. So I'm a bit surprised that Josh Tongue probably didn't get, another gig. But it'll be interesting to see. I know that the weather's not looking that good for the 5 days at Manchester, but if the rain holds up and that overcast condition, Jimmy Anderson could do a lot with that Duke ball. So it'll be interesting to see. But I don't see it as a terrible move. But I think Josh Tongue is stiff not to get another shout out.
Yeah, Burns boys, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Owen said there. Josh Tongue was pretty dangerous when he played. He's probably a bit stiff there. Haven't really looked into the cricket too much. More been focused on the big round of footy, but yeah, I mean, I think I speak for all of Australia. Good to see Ollie Robinson miss out on a spot. So yeah, it's happy days from my perspective.
Yeah,
And Stewie Jew on board. Watch out.
Stewie Jew, yeah. No, I'd agree with what both the lads there said. But I think on the Australian side of things, it's going to be very interesting to see the team they pick. Obviously, Mitch Marsh couldn't have really done anything more, and you'd think he'd hold his spot. And I think Cam Green's fit to play, but whether they bring him in or not, if they bring him in, they'd have to take out Warner and then put Travis Head up to the order, which I actually reckon is probably the move they should do. But some reports have said that they're going to back Warner again, maybe see out one more, but like really, Stuart Broad's just sort of feeding off that rivalry, I guess, and the way he's on top of him. So he seems to bowl a lot better to David Warner than what he does anyone else. So it's going to be hard for Warner to actually get out of that slump. But hopefully Smithy and Marnus can actually, well, Smithy's made 100, but I think Marnus is really due for a big score. He's made a lot of 30s and 40s and then just played a very rash shot at times and stuff that you haven't seen him do for a long time. But yeah, hopefully we can seal it up here, but I don't know, it won't be easy.
Yeah, well, actually, to sort of shed light on the comments that you just made about Warner and Marsh, I also saw reports that they're going to keep with what they did at Headingley. Keep Warner and Marsh in there. I saw they were doing some fielding drills, and Warner and Marsh were both in the cordon. So that tells me that unless they're going to, I suppose, get rid of Tom Murphy for this test, which some people are calling for because we didn't use him as much this series. Whether they're going to go with Cam Green as well and have two all-rounders in, or they're going to go someone like a Michael Neeser, which Owen, I know you suggested last week. Rohan, I'll ask you, mate. Do you reckon David Warner should be in the team?
No, I think they should do what you guys said and put in Green and move Trav Head up the order. I think that's a better decision, honestly. Yeah.
I reckon that is too. I think most of us have the same thoughts on that as well. But yeah, obviously that's the Ashes, and that'll start tomorrow. Let's get into this big round of footy that we've been talking about, because was definitely some results, some close games. Obviously, the first two games to start off with, but some people are calling Friday night's game arguably the game of the year, with Melbourne coming from 4 goals down with 7 minutes left to win by a solitary point. Jake Melksham kicking a goal in the final minute to get that done. Now, Blair and Connor, I suppose, you've got the same views through your Back Pocket Banter podcast, and you did put a poll to everyone else about Christian Petrarca, whether he can catch Nick Dacos in the Brownlow medal. Kicked 4 goals, had 26 disposals this week. Second week in a row, he's kicked 4 goals. You asked the public that question. Now I'm going to ask you that same question. Can he catch Nick Dacos?
Look, I personally don't think he can, but I think if anyone is a chance, it's going to be Petrarca this year. I put it out to the public, so I just thought, like, on the back of his last 2 games, 3-vote games, he'd probably say, as has Dacos been, continuing to be amongst the best every week. But yeah, Petrarca starting to hit that scoreboard the last few weeks and respond to a bit of criticism from a few weeks ago as well, and start to get his kicking boots on and put him through the big sticks has been good to see. And when I was watching this on Friday night, it just got me thinking, it's the way he was playing and kicking those goals, I was like, well, if anyone's going to catch him, then I thought Clary's has been out for much longer than anticipated. So it's normally him and Clary halve the votes really at the end of the year in the Brownlow count. So Petrarca's that explosive player, and I think he'll poll really well. I think lots of people have talked about Butters, Taranto, Bontempelli even, but I think Petrarca right now is probably second to Dacos. But look, and the overwhelming response from the public was that no one's going to catch Nick Dacos. I think probably 75% to 80% said it's Dacos already has it around his neck. But it was just interesting to sort of see, because I think, Petrarca's having a very good year again.
Yeah, no, I think Petrarca, definitely the way he's played, it's been pretty consistent throughout. But then when he starts kicking goals and kicking straighter and more accurately, then comes a lot more damaging player, not only for the team, but like, I don't know, in terms of votes as well. It's kind of easier to give him those votes just because of the impact on the game that he has. But yeah, there's a few others talked about, but yeah, I don't really see. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, I thought, yeah, look, it's pretty tight, but I think Nick Dacos has probably pulled ahead now. And look, I mean, like, love him or hate him, which I mean, I think a lot of people, are really getting on him now, whether you go for Collingwood or another side. But he's been playing great footy and very consistent. And even the game, he doesn't have a bad game. Even the games where his impact's a bit down, the numbers are still pretty high, and he still finds a way to contribute to the win. And he's kicking goals as well. And Josh is playing well, and it flows on for the whole team. And they really don't look like losing Collingwood at the moment, which is tough to say. But they're going well, and probably no one catches him.
Yeah. What about you, boys?
Oh, I can't
Yeah, I
say
mean,
anything.
for me, definitely. Look, with the absence of Clayton Oliver's definitely helped Petrarca's chances, and make him that shining star for the last month or so. But look, I think it is a bit of a stretch coming late to the year. I think Dacos is arguably the favourite. I still think Bont has a good chance. But yeah, speaking of arguably game of the year, yeah, I mean, to be honest, Rohan and I didn't watch much of the footy over the weekend because we were pretty busy. But I remember looking on the AFL app, seeing D's down by 4 or 5 goals with 6 minutes to go. I thought, oh yeah, Brisbane. And then I opened Instagram and I see Melksham kicking that goal. I'm like, no way do they win that. And then the whole lever mark, or was it Hipwood's mark? That was, that was interesting. But, you could just say, like, Brisbane, they just can't seem to win at the G, even though they pretty much did dominate most of that game and were in lead for most of the game. They still can't seem to quite win at the MCG. But yeah, incredible game. And boys, I would actually ask you this: do you reckon Melksham should consistently be in their best 22?
Yeah, look, he has every time he comes in, he seems to have an impact. And like a lot of the times when he plays VFL, he's kicking 3 or 4 and being a pretty good player. But yeah, he seems like one of those guys that can just sort of do the job, and he's got good goal sense, and obviously played a role as well on Harris Andrews, like a defensive, forward tagging role type thing, and sort of, I don't know, reduced his impact, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, potentially. I mean, if he's kicking goals, that's the struggle that they've had, and if he can contribute to goals as well, then I don't see why they wouldn't keep him in, because when he plays, they seem to sort of do pretty well. But yeah, their forward line's a big issue, really. That's probably the only thing that stops them from, maybe winning the flag. But when you got Petrarca and hopefully Oliver's back soon, if they're kicking goals, that'll give them their best chance. But really, out of the key forwards as well, they need.
Well, funnily enough, that happens anyway. Connor's obviously known for talking too long, and when the Zoom tells you he's talking for too long, then it's time to shut up. But Connor, I'll let you finish off your point about Jake Melksham. Yeah, whatever you were saying before.
Yeah, look, it's a bit rich coming from, mate. But no, I think Melksham, they should heavily consider putting him in the side. Whenever he plays, they seem to win, and he seems to kick a few goals and plays a role for the team that's vital. But his experience and sort of goal sense is what can help him, and that's an area they've been struggling to kick goals. But if they can find a way as well to get one of their key forwards to kick goals, whether that's Van Rooyen or Ben Brown as well, or maybe Tom McDonald comes back in, then they can potentially push for the flag. But if they can't, then they're probably making up numbers, even if they do make the top 4 or something.
Yeah, I think before the year, I agree on the Melksham call. I think he gives the forward line a bit, and the forward line is really the only question with the Ds at the moment. I mean, they should have Clayton Oliver back in the finals. Track's playing really good footy. Gorney is playing as well as he has. Lever in the back line and delivering. It's really the forward line's the only question. And I've said since the start of the year, I think Ds will win the flag. And I didn't shy away from it a few weeks ago either. And I think when I was watching the game, there was a point there and Brisbane were all over him. I just saw a stat, probably 20 minutes in the third quarter, I think it was. Brisbane led the inside 50s 14-3. and they were just murdering them really. And they didn't look like winning D's, and they looked like probably getting blown out really. And then for them to come back and get a few late in the third to give them a sniff, and then even in the last to come back from that deficit, I sort of zoned out. I was watching it with Jazz, obviously being a D supporter herself, and I was cheering on the D's, and then I resigned to it. I said, look, they've lost probably. And then I said, and look, that's probably their flag chances too, because that's nearly top four gone. And then the comeback, and Melksham to keep that one and put them in front. And that's a massive, massive win for them in terms of like, it probably, now they probably make the four, and now I still back them to win the grand final. And that's a big call, but that's what I feel.
Big Cole Burns in action once again. All right, we'll move into another game, and now I can understand why this man is not on the pod. I think he's still crying about this result, but Gold Coast under Stephen King. You've always said it pretty much on the podcast last week that it will happen. They'll win with his first game in charge, and that's exactly what they set out to do. We might not have Hugo to rant about it, but we've got one man who is taking place of Hugo tonight in Rohan. And Rohan, you were saying some stuff about him before we went to air, and I know you've got a lot in the bank about St Kilda. So, mate, all I can say is that the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay. So I am the replacement of Hugo in this episode, but I am the complete opposite when it comes to football. I really don't like St Kilda. They're not an interesting team to watch. I just find them a bit boring, and also they've just got a bad reputation. Like they're one of the oldest teams in the AFL, played the first season, won one grand final out of like 120 something years.
150.
150. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot then. And they've had the most wooden spoons as well. 27, I think. Yeah, so they're just bad reputation, not a good team to watch.
Waste of space?
Yeah.
Yeah, waste of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rohan, this year, mate, how do you give their chances? Obviously, they've dropped off a bit in recent times. Max King can't get on the park, and Hugo's talked him up, but he said he booked his final tickets at the start of the year, but I think it was a bad idea. What about you?
Honestly, yeah, I think that was a bad idea. I think they'll win probably out of the next 5 games, because I think there's only, is there 5 or?
Yeah, 6 to go.
I would probably expect them to win maybe 1, 2 at the most. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't think they'll make it to September. And
Hugo's gonna be raging. Listen to that, and as long as you're back in South Australia, mate, you're all good. But Hugo touched down in Victoria, you get the hell out of the state, and you'll be right.
Now, do we want the proper final 6 for them? So they've got North Melbourne, Hawthorn, Carlton, Richmond, Geelong, and Brisbane to finish off. So
they might beat North Melbourne and Hawthorn, but I think that's it.
There we go.
Then they'll lose their last 4, so then they won't make the finals. Probably about 11th or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, great call. We'll knock them off too, but like you hold the same opinion as me, mate. But you've got a lot to back it up as well in terms of facts and the history of them. And yeah, like I say to Hugo all the time, there's no history, mate, and you've got it there. And I know it comes forward in spades, but yeah, I mean, why would you want to support a club that can never really get anywhere? You know, they're probably Gold Coast, as long as they sort of win one in the next 60 or 70 years, they're probably still better. So yeah.
Well, I think we all called it, except Hugo, that I think it's going to be an upset and that Gold Coast would win. And I wrote on the timesheet last week, Saints done, and he was laughing at me saying, we're not done, still another 6 rounds to go. But I think it's fair to say that they're well and truly done. That's my call, I reckon. I mean,
it was last year.
This is exactly like last year almost. Yeah, poor percentage. And since round 5, they've been slowly on the way down. And I don't see them top 8 at the end of the year.
Well, yeah, they hold the same record as they did this time last year, 9-8 record, and they've won one of their last 5. So, make of that what you will.
Yeah,
But if
Ross has
we-
lost the player. He's lost the players. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and Clarko back around the team this week as well. It might be another type of, I don't know, almost replacement coach with the new coach coming in that they might get up for it. And North Melbourne have lost 15 on the trot, so I think they're due for a win.
Well overdue.
Let's be honest. So what a week to do it, and that would break the back of the Saints if they beat them this week. I don't see how they could make it from there based on the current form, but they're sliding, but they're lucky still to be in the 8, I think.
And I suppose, if we look at the other side as well with Gold Coast, they get that win on the board under Stephen King, and I suppose now the next 6 games that I probably rattled off before, GWS, Brisbane, Adelaide, Sydney, Carlton, and North Melbourne. I suppose, boys, is there a possibility that we could see them in September? And
it's a slight possibility, but Gold Coast, they seem to, like what I said, I think maybe last episode, they seem to win a couple of games, then lose a disappointing one, and just can't find that consistency. So, I think, again, they'll probably just miss out again, maybe, 12th, 13th, maybe even 11th. It's tough to say. That they could probably win a couple of those games, maybe half of those that you just mentioned, but I don't see them strong enough to be a top 8 side.
Definitely. They can't afford to lose, sort of have lapses and lose the games that they've lost previously. And if they do, then there's not really a realistic chance. But look, you never know. There's a lot of teams that are kind of just throwing their hat in the ring a little bit and just keeping it there. But I don't know, can they hang on? There's too many teams that are vying for it. I don't think they're as good as some of the others that are, but it's hard to say.
I don't know. I have a slight feeling that they're not out of it yet, but I mean that when they play good footy, like we've seen, it stacks up. They've been pretty good. Like they've knocked off some good sides. They've played some really good games. Like Owen and the boys touched on, it's a few disappointing performances, which probably saw the back of Stuart Dew essentially, and those couple of thumpings. I mean, if you lose them by over 10 goals to Carlton, you want a bit more security than that going into the back end playing some of these sides, and they've got not a bad run home. So they're a chance if they put together some good footy, but they need to be playing some way more consistent than they have.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to one of those teams that you mentioned in Carlton, and now they've won their last 4 in a row by over 50 points, and they played against a team who has won 13 in a row. But that being said, they did make 7 changes in their lineup. I suppose, are they in the conversation now? They only have to travel once for the rest of the season, and that's against Gold Coast, like we mentioned. But some of the teams they've got in there are West Coast, Collingwood, St Kilda, Melbourne, and GWS. Boys, where do the Blues sit?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I mean, out of those ones, they're probably like the way they're playing now. They're probably a good chance to win. Maybe 4, I reckon. Probably 4. Like even like teams like Giants, they probably should knock off if they're playing well. But they've come out of the blue a bit, and I think I still picked Port Adelaide last week, but I really should have picked Carlton because when I went to the game, and when I was outside, I was just kind of thinking, I was like, Port don't really travel that much. They've got 6 or 7 changes, and the blokes that were going out sort of outweighed the guys that were coming in, I think, and they'd won so many games in a row, they were probably due for a loss like that, and they played pretty terribly, and they actually looked a way worse side. We've got like defensively with guys like Tom Jonas in it, and I know he's their captain, but it's harsh, but he couldn't really do a thing right one-on-one, and they couldn't really stop Carlton from scoring. Like there wasn't many rebound 50s where they got it out. It would go in and they'd kick a goal or a point. And if it was a point, they'd kick it out and then it would come back in and they'd kick one straight away. But yeah, they were due for a bit of a reality check, probably Port, but they're still a very good side with their full team. But yeah, Carlton, I don't know. Their percentage is good now after some thrashing. So yeah, I don't know. They're well enough placed. They're better placed than I'd say Richmond and Gold Coast, and Giants, that's probably about 50-50 with them. So
yeah. Rohan, do you reckon Carlton make finals?
Honestly, I I agree with you guys. I think that they probably would win around 4 or maybe 5 of their next 6. There might be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but honestly, I mean, I got a good friend who goes for the Blues, and he thinks that they could make the finals at the end.
Don't they all?
Yeah.
I mean, but he's like, he knows footy. He knows it well. He knows that if a team is like that at this point in the season and they're not doing well, they make the finals and vice versa and all that. So, but he thinks they're in with a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to say it. Nah, actually, they'll choke again, like last year. I think I just don't want to see them in the top 8. It just makes me sick. So, they'll bomb out. But honestly, I don't know how they've found this form, like out of nowhere, really. Is it a concern for the general public? Yes. But no, let's hope that they I don't know, something bad happens and they start losing.
Yeah, well, mate, how Mark hates me but not you for saying stuff like that is incredible. I mean, look, did I cheer on when they missed the finals? Yeah, I did. But
We all
also, we did. We all did. I copped it because I was in the D's jumper. But like, I'm gonna give them a fair sniff, really. Look, again, I don't really rate Carlton that much, really, as a side, and I haven't really this year. But in the form that they're in, knocking off Port. I know Port are the changes in Melbourne, but when they're winning as well, they're winning good. And they're making sure of their wins. And I think, like, when listening to some of those teams I've gotten the run home, as a Carlton supporter, I mean, they're all overconfident. I don't like it, but I think there's a fair reason to feel like you're not a bad chance to play finals. And there's a lot of those sides. There's a lot of sides right now where finals aren't out of the question, but they're going to be tough. And some sides have to make it. So Carlton are one that, I mean, they've got every chance to play finals, but whether they can or not.
They are in a great position with percentage. But from 5th to about 14th is a 6-point difference. And it'll just be interesting this next month or so. Like every game's important and this round I've looked at a few teams, like, you know, a win for either team for some of the games this round is really crucial for the rest of the season and how I guess their finals shapes up. So it'll be a good round of footy this week.
Yeah, well, we speak about this round of footy and we might as well get into the tips then. So Essendon and Bulldogs on Friday night under the lid at Marvel. Saturday's action, we've got Richmond and Hawthorn, Carlton and West Coast. Brisbane and Geelong playing Saturday twilight at the Gabba. Fremantle and Sydney. And then we've got Port Adelaide and Collingwood, which is the top of the table clash. Followed by Sunday, we've got GWS and Gold Coast in Canberra, Melbourne and Adelaide at the G, and St Kilda and North to round out the round. Owen, we'll start off with you, mate. Your tips for the round, please.
All right, I'm going to go Doggies over Essendon after a heartbreaking loss last week for the Dogs. Richmond over Hawthorn, Carlton over West Coast, Geelong over Brisbane. I'm going to go Freo over Sydney. I'm going to go Collingwood over Port, GWS over Gold Coast, Melbourne over Adelaide, and St Kilda over North.
All right. Connor, we'll go with you next then.
I actually might go Essendon over Western Bulldogs. That's a genuine 8-point game because of how close they sit.
7-8.
Richmond beat Hawthorn. We definitely need to, but we'll get up. Carlton to beat West Coast. I think Brisbane will bounce back, but Geelong will give them a real run. I actually reckon Sydney might beat Fremantle. Collingwood to beat Port Adelaide. GWS over Gold Coast. Melbourne over Adelaide. And St Kilda over North Melbourne.
Yeah, look, I've tipped ordinary this year. And this week could be genuinely the worst week of my career.
That's our card.
I'm going all out here. This is going to be, I'll either get 9 or I'm going to get probably 1 or 2. So Essendon beat the Dogs. Tigers to beat the Hawthorn. Carlton beat West Coast. And then we've got Brisbane at the Gabba. They beat the Cats. Sydney should beat Freo. Port Adelaide to beat the Pies at Adelaide Oval, and they need to bounce back after last week. I know they had a lot of changes, but I hope they come out and stamp their authority over Collingwood. Mansell can't speak on that, so that's fun. Gold Coast will beat Giants. Gold Coast coming off a win. I know Giants are too, but I've got a good feeling about Gold Coast. D's should beat Adelaide, and I'm going to go North to beat Saints. Saints are a rabble, and North upset them and get it done. Hugo, put that in your pipe and smoke it, mate.
We like that.
Yeah.
They have to win. North Melbourne, they have to win a game eventually. So, I mean, it would just be beautiful if it was this week. I know us boys will be pretty happy, the Richmond fans and Rohan as well.
We'll move on to Rohan for his tips.
Yeah,
what better team for the Roos to beat than the Saints?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be perfect after 15 losses on the trot. So yeah. I think I'd probably go for the Bombers over the Dogs, only by like around 10 or so points, maybe. I think Richmond definitely have to beat Hawthorn. Carlton thrash West Coast over in Perth by like around 100 points earlier this year, so I think I have to go Carlton. I think Brisbane will walk over Geelong.
Take that.
Right next to you.
A walkover.
Right next to you.
Sydney could probably beat Freo. I think Collingwood would probably beat Port Adelaide. I might go with Gold Coast to go over GWS. Definitely Melbourne to beat Adelaide, and I think North Melbourne should win against the Saints.
There we go. Another round of tips in the books. Boys, if you want to get to some Supercoach action, I know it was tight between Blair and Connor from all reports, and I'm going to guess that Connor got over the line. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I won by a couple hundred, and now the 4-14 record doesn't look that bad if you compare like me with North Melbourne or someone. So going all right.
Our projected was somewhat even, and look,
you must have had a few pies out.
I played a few men short again. There's been so many DNPs on my team. It's been doing my head in. I'm not going to have a rant like Connor. I didn't have any sevens, but I had about 7 blokes that didn't play. And that's happened a fair bit. So I'm getting a bit fed up with it. But look, I play finals. Owen's my bunny and he's the one to beat. So I don't care. Connor and Hugo can get consolation wins against me if they want. But I'm 4-1 against Owen. So.
Yeah. Well, Hugo, I think it's a hate episode for Hugo. Last episode he was up and about saying he's got a better percentage than me. But I gave him an absolute thrashing on the weekend. Have damaged his percentage now. And I've boosted my own. So now 2 games ahead. Looking good, shaping for finals. I even had Sicily play and he got about 56 or something. Not even a super great week for me, but still I'll take the win. And Hugo just spoke a bit too soon. I think he's going to crash out in finals, and if Blair turns up, then I think he's the one to beat.
Basically ever since St Kilda have dropped off, because he's got all the St Kilda players, Hugo, he's just been on the slide a little bit.
That is true.
Like the Saints, and it was always a risk. I don't know, when you do Supercoach sort of with your heart rather than your head. But I don't know. Hopefully he crashes and burns, Hugo, and it's a nice little hate session for the big fella.
Bit of an intervention, if you will, I reckon. He probably needs it. After what has happened over the last little bit, he's, I suppose, gone on a killing spree, if you will. Squashing the hopes and dreams of so many people out there from different minorities and majorities. If that's even a word.
Disrespecting Essendon fans like our mother Glenda. So, and she said she accepted the apology. I think that's just because she's a nice lady. Deep down, I think she's not happy with the Saints either.
Well, obviously, before we finish off, we can't ignore the elephant in the room when it comes to Australian sport, and the Women's World Cup is around the corner and will start on Thursday. And so obviously all the best with the Matildas. Obviously, you know, I've been covering in that, and I think we've got a real good shot. And you know, this World Cup here could potentially be the one that gets it back towards gets it towards the men's game in terms of the hype and the buzz around it. You know, the place is absolutely buzzing, and you know what Australians are like when it comes to sport. They get around it, and I reckon this is the perfect opportunity for that to happen. So, but yeah, no, it should be good, and yeah, go from there.
Yeah, we knocked off France on that Friday night. So with the AFL going on with that close game, and then over to Marvel with the Matildas knocking off France, the city was pumping Friday night. I was in the city with the fan, but I don't know, they were pretty well placed because I think France are 5th in the world. So
Yeah,
very good side. Yeah. But no,
definitely.
should be good. Hopefully Sam Kerr can kick a few and lead them to, I don't know, potentially, you know, a pretty good campaign.
Yeah.
Wraps us up.
Finish us off, yeah.
No, that's it, I reckon. No, it's been a great episode. Thanks, boys, for jumping on. Thank you to Rohan for featuring. It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been good having
Can
you
replace
on.
Hugo anytime. Can replace him at
Oh, yeah.
any time. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
will
definitely bring
probably
some more wisdom.
It'd most likely be when I'm in Melbourne, or he can come over to Adelaide and bring whatever he needs. Yeah.
We'll have to link you up on a Zoom, mate. I think, you know, we're talking about Cam Green trying to get back in the side. I think we should be talking about Hugo, really, because Rowan's probably got it locked in at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I
A bit
think
ordinary at 3.
Yeah, Hugo's positioning's in strife, I reckon. Got good reserves players trying to make their way into the ones team, but
And already have.
His knowledge just got Hugo covered by quite a bit. So no, it's good, and obviously Richmond fan as well. So great man. That's all we really need to know. And no, you're great.
He's a rare delusional fan, rare delusional Tigers fan. He speaks.
If Hugo made it this far in the episode, look, we go do a little welfare check. Hope you're doing all right, mate.
Yeah.
Nah, it's been good though. Nah, it's been good. Are we back next week on campus or another Zoom?
I reckon we're going to be on campus. You know, everyone will be back in Melbourne, so stay tuned for that. But I reckon we could be back into the swing of things. Couple of finalizations and go from there. But
can't wait for that. That should be an absolute ripper. But for the meantime, thank you to all the viewers and listeners out there for tuning in. Make sure to keep up to date with the socials, and we'll catch you all next week. See you then.